In the last video, we saw Solomon mentally and physically break the spirit of the demon Asmodeus, as he not only forced him to confess his weaknesses, but then proceeds to exploit these weaknesses, as he gets him to assist in the building of his temple. Whilst you might have thought that Solomon was pretty thorough in the way that he handled the encounter, he proves to be even more of a fearsome entity, and perhaps a champion of God himself, in the way he handles the wind demon known as Tephras. But first we see Solomon summon the prince of all demons in Beelzebub once more, and interestingly, he actually pays Beelzebub some respect by placing him on a seat of honour. Perhaps this comes about because thus far, Beelzebub had conceded to Solomon absolutely, and appeared to be doing his bidding without complaint. He proceeds to ask Beelzebub, why is it he who is the prince of all demons? And Beelzebub responds, because I alone am left of the angels of heaven that came down, for I was the first angel in the first heaven, being entitled Beelzebub, and now I control all those who are bound in Tartarus. Here we learn in this story, Beelzebub isn't just a fallen angel, but actually the very first angel. By this, one might say that Beelzebub was one of God's earliest creations, and that as he names himself as the first angel of the first heaven, it is implied that he was regarded as a favoured entity. Whilst we are not told as to the nature of why Beelzebub was cast out, one might assume that it could be because Beelzebub was one of the angels who sided with Lucifer in his quest to overthrow God in becoming the Most High. He also tells us that now as the Prince of Demons, he controls the souls who are bound in Tartarus. Some of you may know that Tartarus is the term for the underground abyss, or prison in Greek mythology. Whilst it is thought to hold all of the wicked souls, its primary function was used by the Titan Uranus, who imprisoned the giants born to him by his wife Gaia. Zeus and the Olympians would later free the giants, and Tartarus would be used to imprison the Titans, most notably the Titan Cronus, who Zeus overthrows. In this instance though, Tartarus may simply be a term used for hell, and that the writers of the Testament of Solomon were drawing upon Greek influence to demonstrate the power of Beelzebub, that he governs the likes of the most wicked and foul creatures who dwell there. Interestingly, we also see Beelzebub confide in Solomon a fascinating secret, that he has a child who haunts the Red Sea. Unfortunately, like many things in this text, the demons do not elaborate on these little nuggets of information. Beelzebub does tell us that this child of his visits him frequently and tells him of the deeds he has committed, though whatever these deeds are not specified. Beelzebub tells Solomon that he supports his child, however, and there is an implication that the two are working in tandem, and that one day, like Asmodeus predicted, the demons will rise and have their revenge. Solomon does later try to get Beelzebub to present his child to him, but Beelzebub declines, despite being under oath, and offers instead to bring him the wind demon Ephippas. You might attribute some honour to Beelzebub here, in that he refuses to sell out his own son, but Solomon presses him further, demanding to know why he dwells in the Red Sea and what his name is. Beelzebub tells him, "Ask me not, for thou canst not learn from me. However, he will come to thee by any command, and will tell thee openly." It's almost as if he's telling Solomon to seek out his child for himself, for he will not snitch on his own blood. There's also a sense of foreboding in the last part of this sentence, almost like Beelzebub is telling Solomon that his son is not scared of him, and will tell Solomon whatever he wants, because in the end, the demons will triumph. Solomon asks Beelzebub here to reveal his purpose, and Beelzebub replies, "I destroy kings. I ally myself with foreign tyrants, and my own demons I set onto men, in order that the latter may believe in them and be lost. And the chosen servants of God, priests and faithful men, I excite unto desires for wicked sins, evil heresies, and lawless deeds, and they obey me, and I bear them on to destruction. And I inspire men with envy and desire for murder, and for wards and sodomy, and other evil things, and I will destroy the world." There's a lot to take in there, but for the most part, it is exactly that which we would expect of the Prince of all demons. He takes on a similar role to that of Satan in traditional Christian beliefs, in that he works against mankind by corrupting them and luring them off the righteous path. He seeks here to bring about man's downfall by getting men to worship false gods and kings, to give in to their more carnal desires, and ultimately to sin against God. He also reveals his ultimate goal, and that is to destroy the world. Upon learning this, Solomon commands Beelzebub to saw marble for the temple, and it is here we see him subjugated to the same punishment as the previous demons, as he is forced into manual labour. Solomon tells us that when the other demons witnessed their prince sawing the marble, they cried out in a loud voice, howling in pain at the sight of him, so utterly conquered by man. As Beelzebub groans with the effort, Solomon offers him respite, but only if he reveals to him a secret about heaven. Beelzebub obliges him and tells him, "Hear, O king, if thou burn gum and incense, and bulb of the sea with nard and saffron, and light 7 lamps in an earthquake, thou wilt firmly fix thy house. And if being pure thou light them at dawn in the sunlight, then wilt thou see the heavenly dragons, and how they wind themselves along and drag the chariot of the sun." It's a pretty specific incantation, but it is stated that if Solomon does this, then he will secure his house, or ensure that his family and his lineage is safe from harm, providing that his intentions are honest. Beelzebub also promises that he will behold the magnificent sight of heavenly dragons, pulling the chariot of the sun across the sky. Whether or not Solomon agrees to test this rather specific incantation out is not known here, but one might say this could have actually been a bluff by Beelzebub, and that in doing this, Solomon would be condemning himself to sin by obeying the word of a demon and doing something that God might have frowned upon. Now, Solomon commands silence of Beelzebub and proceeds to praise God, but it appears he's interrupted by the emergence of a terrifying demon indeed, one in the form of the elements. Solomon tells us, "His face was high up in the air, but the rest of the spirit curled away like a snail, and it broke through the few soldiers, and raised also a terrible dust on the ground, and carried it upwards, and then again held it back down to frighten us, and asked what questions I could ask as a rule." We see here that this demon isn't shy about causing havoc. We see this demon act far more aggressively than Asmodeus did, and proceeds to actually blast apart Solomon's land, knocking over his soldiers and spewing dust everywhere. We understand that as its face appeared in the sky, it was a huge creature, and that its body was like that of a tornado, thundering against the land. We also see that, like Asmodeus, this wind demon does not think much of Solomon, and can't begin to fathom how Solomon thinks he is equipped to ask anything of a being so great as he. But if Solomon is scared, he does not show it. In fact, he tells us, "And I stood up and spat on the ground in that spot, and sealed with the ring of God, and forthwhile the dust wind stopped." Once more, that old ring Solomon had begot from Archangel Michael proves to be effective, for it seems to bind the wind demon and prevent him from causing any more carnage. Solomon is even able to question him thereafter, asking, "Who art thou, O wind?" The demon reveals that, "I am the spirit of the ashes. I bring darkness on men, and set fire to the fields, and I bring homesteads to naught. But most busy I am in the summer. However, when I get an opportunity, I creep into the corners of the wall by night and day, for I am offspring of the great, and nothing less." Here we learn that this demon, Tephras, literally is the element of the wind, and that he does not seem to have a physical body. His only purpose is to destroy the fruits of man's labour, including that of his property, his fields, and any sort of foundation. Here the natural disaster of tornadoes or high velocity winds are attributed to this demon, and these disastrous events are personified and therefore given a face for man to either comprehend or fear. Tephras also reveals to us that he is the offspring of the Great One, and one may assume that he is talking about God, for God created the elements and would have therefore created Tephras. This becomes a unique demon in this sense, in that he was not created by Beelzebub. You might also argue by this logic that Tephras is misidentifying himself, in that he is not necessarily a demon, but more like a spirit. In any case, Tephras appears to hate mankind, and takes on his own mission as a destructive force, as opposed to a neutral one. Solomon proceeds to ask what star does Tephras lie under, and the demon replies, "In the very tip of the moon's horn, when it is found in the south, there is my star. For I have been bidden to restrain the convulsions of the Hematertian fever, and this is why many men pray to the Hematertian fever, using these three names, Bultala, Thalal, Melkul, and I heal them." From what I understand, the Hematertian fever could be the same as tertian fever, which is malarial fever, that can kill the sufferer within days. We learn here that Tephras is bidden to restrain the convulsions that the sufferer may experience, and in this, you might say that he's not all bad. Given that he may very well have been created by God, there's a chance that he would have some redeeming qualities, and that it is God himself who has ordered him to serve as a relief for those who are suffering from this disease. We also see him explain that he heals the entities Bultala, Thalal, and Melkul, but we are not given any information here as to who these entities are, nor their nature within the story. Solomon proceeds to ask him that when he does commit harm upon man, under whose name does he do it by? But interestingly, Tephras reveals that he is commanded to do this harm not by a demon, but by an angel, the Archangel Azael. Tephras also tells us that Archangel Azael heals those who are suffering with tertian fever, and that he does this by the third day, whereby it is put to rest, though it is not specified as to whether he actually ends their suffering or ends their lives as a mercy. The part about Tephras being commanded by Archangel Azael to harm man by destroying his lands is not furthermore elaborated on either, and Solomon even summons the angel, though this controversial subject is not broached. Instead, Solomon tells us, "And I summoned the Archangel Azael, and set a seal on the demon, and commanded him to seize great stones, and toss them up to the workmen on the higher parts of the temple. And being compelled, the demon began to do what he was bidden to do." And so just like that, another demon fell victim to Solomon and was forced into the building of his temple. It seems that there was no demon strong enough nor smart enough to outwit Solomon, for no matter what sort of demon engages him, Solomon gets the upper hand. The story aims here to show us the potency of putting one's trust in God, for you'll notice that Solomon frequently praises God after each encounter, which is what some say facilitates his dominance over these profound creatures that would have otherwise crushed him. But will Solomon's streak continue in the next installment of the Testament of Solomon, where he faces off against 7 female spirits that paint themselves as something along the lines of goddesses of hell? Be sure to tune in next time to find out. In the meantime guys, if you've enjoyed today's video, then don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Until the next time.